Well, now, we got to get we got the great meter. Hold on here. I got to try to find a VP counter. What about, could this be there you go. The first EVP to leave, obviously, was Cody Rhodes, one of the founding fathers, and that was coming up on 2 years ago now. So one EVP, but that's not, you got so many more EVPs, you can easily pick up the slack, right? Although we've seen that since Cody left, apparently he was one of the more VIPs of the EVPs, but Cody was gone. And then QT, he just finished up, but he announced a while back, QT Marshall, a fine young man, I'm sure very dedicated. I've worked with him before, was very eager, but was totally inexperienced. And he was tasked with trying to make sense, apparently, of Tony's rambling booking and format the shows. And he was proud of that, the way that he formatted those shows. But QT decided, even though he was a vice president of talent and this and that and the other thing, QT's gone. And then I'm not sure.
What was Kevin Sullivan's position? Yeah.
Well, that's what was Kevin Sullivan, not the wrestler, folks, but the production guy, who now is known more outside of the interior workings of wrestling because he has a very familiar name, but two different people. But Kevin Sullivan, who had built their production staff and their post-production facility out from the start and had been with them and has worked for TNA and has worked in a variety of other sports and everything. Well, the new guy they brought in from the WWE, well, he fired Kevin Sullivan. So if Kevin Sullivan was a VP, he's... And then we got Raphael. Raphael was the VP of the arena booking and the live events and the blah, 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 as we just talked about. And Raphael now is on his way to Brooklyn to...
Well...
But that's not the end of the list, is it, Brian?
Jim, the hits just keep on coming. AEW this past week, at the same time, I think it was the same day that we found out that Raphael Morphy was leaving, Dana Massie, the chief marketing and merchandising officer of AEW, the wife of Matt Jackson, Matt Massie, it was announced that she's leaving the company. And when word came out that she was leaving the company, the reaction was kind of, I get it. Merch is a problem. Everyone's heard stories. There's not enough merch. There's not enough variety. The merch looks like shit. There's not enough merch for big shows. We've heard complaints from fans. We've heard complaints from wrestlers. That's right. And she was in charge of that, so we thought, okay, Tony may be trying to do something here. Maybe he's cleaning house and trying to get things in place for 2024. Again, he's still in charge, but something's happening.
And again, this was the original. They all had a dream. Hey, kids, let's put on a show. Well, what about old Dana? Well, she can't really act, but boy, she did a great job sending out all of the Buckaroos t-shirts when they were on the indies so she can be in charge of the merchandise of a nationally televised touring wrestling promotion. Let's just do that.
Hey, let me ask you a serious question before we get to more about this. How many hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in merch money have they left on the table because they were unprepared?
They left $1 million probably on the table at Wembley. They've left multi-millions of dollars, even at the big shows. It was a joke going when they would tour that the fans would send pictures. It was almost like the lonely Virgil at the table. They would send pictures of empty merchandise stands that had a couple of generic AEW shirts and a few of the stars individually. But most of the time, if you wanted a t-shirt of your favorite wrestler, you couldn't get it at the arena. You had to go online. And if you tried to get it at the arena, they had so few stands open and such low stock and so few people selling. This is all obviously not our experience. This is what has been reported by countless fans, that the lines were long to get what you could get, and people missed the matches trying to buy shit.
And then we get pictures from people about, look at the shirts they make. They think people want to buy this. Just these embarrassing. Who's going to wear a shirt that says fat ass and bad attitude or big black and jack? Like, they make these ugly shirts.
Remember
no
the Britt Baker black eye shirt?
Yes, I forgot about that. Yes.
That was a good idea.
So merchandise has been a disaster.
There's no, well, think about this. Can you imagine? They could have sold replica dynamite diamond rings for MJF. They could have sold the glasses and the shit for the Acclaimed or the Acclaimed talking microphone. Their shit is limited. It looks amateurish. It's not in prominent supply or good enough supply at the live events, and it's unimaginative in that they're not monetizing all the things if they had Don West from TNA, bless him, he was cutting up the canvases from the pay-per-views and selling them 3-inch squares at a plaque for hundreds of dollars. I mean, it was goddamn incredible. I think they made more on merchandise than they made wrestling.
Yeah, AEW's merch department has been a disaster, so they can pretend that it hasn't been, but give me a break. We hear from wrestlers, we hear from fans. It's been embarrassing.
So I think that Mrs. Massie there got one of those Felix Unger invites. He was asked to leave and never return. That request came from the boss. Please don't do this anymore. But now she's being baby-faced because...
That's right. That's right.
You know,
a few things have come out.
Can't be anybody's fault from the Buckaroo camp.
Well, Matt Jackson, I guess, went on Instagram and he put up an image of her with one of their kids, and it says, "End of an era. You were in the first conversations when this was all only an idea. One of the main builders of our empire. Always positive.
Our empire?
Always positive in at times was a thankless job." That's horrible grammar. Always positive in at times was a thankless job. Glad you got to do it all and leave on your terms. By your own choice. I'll say that a few more times.
Totally not that anybody wanted you to go and you were not asked to, and it was completely and utterly what you decided to do when you got up that morning.
What was the line you had of a big swole? We mutually decided I'm fired.
Yes. I've talked to Tony and we mutually decided I'm fired.
It's been fun working with you. See you at dinner. So, again, Matt Jackson, and boy, who has cleaned up on Tony Khan's money more than that family?
Wow.
And look at what they've given in return. So that was that. And then Dave Meltzer went on his show and he had a bunch to say. We're not going to play this audio.
Thank you.
I'll read this to you.
It is Christmas.
With Dana, it's a funny thing. If you're in a position where you're a wrestler and you go with the flow, you'll work even if you're unfairly maligned. I think that with her, she was someone at one point who expected to do this forever. I think with everything that happened over the last year with her husband and brother-in-law, vilified and never defended, and never being allowed to defend themselves, and the company never defending them, it made it really difficult. They re-signed. They didn't go to WWE, basically because they got a great offer to stay, and it was the best thing for the family, and it was the best thing financially to stay.
They soaked the billionaire for more money while the getting was good and decided to stay.
No, now it's even better. Now it's they didn't even it's only for the money. They didn't want to be there. Now we're finding out.
Yeah, but then the point is the only reason that the other guys would have given them anything is to get them away from Tony, and then they'd have sat in catering.
Well, let me go back to this. They all agreed to the majority vote, and that was one of the things they all agreed to do. They all agreed to, so they stayed, excuse me. With her, I think it just got too tough. I'm sure there's other things too, but that was a lot of it. The fact that she felt they were never defended at a time where they probably should have been defended by the company. There was the situation where Punk went after her too, and she was never defended either.
When did he go after? Did he throttle her or front face lock her? How did we miss this?
I don't know. Has there been something that I'm not remembering?
How did we miss this?
Well, Punk went after her too, maybe for the shitty job she does, if I had to make any guesses.
But maybe, hey, where's my fucking money for the shirts I ought to be selling that are not in the arenas for people to buy? Maybe that's how he went after.
But this is really important, and we can get into the fact. I mean, we've kind of already said it. She did a bad job, and she shouldn't have been in the position she was in from day one, and she was for no good reason other than to make the Young Bucks happy. And if AEW wants to be a serious business, they need serious fucking people,
well, no,
not the wife of a buck.
It wasn't to make the Young Bucks happy. They told Tony, remember we heard about this, and he actually believed that because she had done such a wonderful job with their mail order t-shirts while they were just the indie darlings of merchandise sales, that, well, naturally, you need to look no further than someone to handle the merchandise for a touring national wrestling promotion on cable TV.
Who has AEW merchandise boosted more, AEW or Pro Wrestling Tees?
They used to tweet out the Buckaroos pictures of her sitting cross-legged in their living room, surrounded by stacks of their t-shirts she was mailing out. Yeah, I identify with that also. I've been in a very similar situation numerous of times, and I would not. And I've run my own business quite successfully, I might add, and I wouldn't hire me to be the fucking head of merchandise for the national fucking...
But let's listen to what Dave just said there, because that's really important and it's really interesting. And this goes into the bigger issues with the problems at AEW at its core, at its owner, or from its owner in English. CM Punk obviously not happy about the way things went. Maybe he's happy he's in WWE, but if you talk about just the way things went down, the way you're talked about, the way you're allowed or not allowed to defend yourself, I doubt CM Punk wants to hear from Tony Khan.
No.
Now we're finding out the Bucks are even mad. So what did any of this, after all out, brawl out, whatever you want to call it, what did it accomplish if you chased away your biggest star into the hands of your rival when they're at their hottest, and the people you decided to keep, who have also decided to go home, they're not happy either. They fed it to Dave that the wife is unhappy because the Bucks were maligned and not allowed to defend themselves. This is the problem with AEW right here.
And here's the problem with the other Buckaroos. Let's say, for the sake of argument, that I have not only talked a billionaire rich kid who's in over his head to give me 7 figures a year to not produce very much of anything for his company, but I've also talked him into giving Stacy probably 6 figures a year, one would think, given that position.
Certainly.
To do something that she's not capable of doing. Am I going to let her quit? I'm going to tell her, no, I don't care if you hate him and want to stab him. I don't care if you goddamn want to put a fucking pipe bomb in his car. Wait and get the money. Continue doing the shitty job you're doing and get all of his money, because we don't know how long this thing's going to fucking last. But no, they have to have her make a point. Well, they didn't defend my husband. Well, you know what? Your husband wasn't worth defending because he was on the wrong side of the... How about Lucy's husband, who was coming to help a friend of hers, or a friend of his, rather, and hers too, instead of, oh, Tony didn't say enough good things about my husband, and it really bothers him, so I'm going to quit. I'm sure they're not sorry to see you go. Watch that doorknob.
Yeah, maybe there's a reason they didn't defend him. Maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe you guys are in the wrong. And at some point, you need to look in the mirror and realize you guys are in the wrong. Not just about this, but about a lot of things.
Maybe there's a reason they didn't talk her into staying any harder. Remember, I've talked to you about the offering the food. The first time somebody offers you the food, you're supposed to say no, and then they're supposed to try to talk you into it, and then you say yes. But if they don't try to talk you into it the second time, well, they're pricks.
Hey, by the way, if we're supposed to believe that Tony Khan wanted her to come back for this job to continue doing what she's doing, then Tony Khan's the biggest idiot ever. And I don't think he's that stupid. I can't imagine Tony Khan is that he would want her to continue doing merch. He's on social media all the time. He's nonstop on there. He's on message boards. He sees all this shit. He participates in some of it, maybe under some other names, but he sees all this. He knows people are making fun of his stupid merchandise. He wants her to continue with the job.
Well, he certainly bolstered a bunch of other people in various positions that they're obviously not prepared for.
He bet it all on the Elite, and Omega's now out for who knows how long. Adam Page is cold as dead. And the Young Bucks went home, and now they're feeding to Dave Meltzer that their wife wasn't happy because Tony didn't defend them more. Did Tony make the right decision?
I don't know, but I think we forgot to do one thing for Mrs. Buck there.
Is that what we're going to do for Mrs. Buck?
Well, the VPs, we got Cody Rhodes. We got Raphael Morphy. We got Kevin Sullivan. We got QT Marshall. We got Mrs. Dana Buck. The VPs are leaving in droves.
The problem is, and we'll end with this because we're not supposed to be recording. The problem is this is an opportunity for AEW to get the right people in the right roles. But this is also going to end up the same way because it's going to be people getting frustrated, and maybe they'll be more professional about it. But they're going to get frustrated about the environment that Tony has created, fostered, and allows to happen. And everyone wants artistic freedom, to use that term to cover a lot. And maybe in the early days of AEW, when people thought it was I've never seen a locker room like this. Yeah, because you haven't been in that many locker rooms. But I've never seen, or sometimes the veterans would say that they've never seen anything like that. Yeah, there's like real exuberance and excitement when you do something like that. It runs out. You can't run on that forever, especially when you have bad management. And look at where they are today. And for everyone, I'm going to keep pointing this out. For everyone that loves to complain about these shows, we've been right all along. Everything's archived. Everything's there. Go back and listen. Keep listening, because we're telling you what's going to happen. Any final words on the Christmas miracle that is this show today, Jim? All right. Well, with that,
there you have it. We're going to be back before you know. We can't stay away. Somebody's going to say or do something. But I'm sorry to have been peripherally involved in this on Christmas Day, but I couldn't let neither Jericho's statements nor this obvious sinking ship mentality among people in positions of various departments go uncommented on. And our deepest sympathies to Lucy on behalf of all of the decent, honorable wrestling fans for her being maligned as disgusting by the vodka haze of Chris Jericho on Christmas morning.